Tom Clark's Main Event is a Boink Studios production. Follow us on Twitter at Boink Studios and check out our Facebook page where you can see all of our projects, past, present, and future. And now, on with the show.
This is Daddy's show. Step off.
Hey, hey. All right. What is up? Welcome to the program. Thank you for tuning in. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tom Clark, and you are listening to Tom Clark's Main Event. This is episode number 41 of the podcast, and if you are joining us today for the very first time, we say welcome aboard. If you're coming back for a repeat visit, we say, hey, thanks for checking back in with us. And to all those involved, we'll extend to you, as always, the customary laurel and a hearty handshake. Thanks for your support. Thanks for listening. Thanks for reading. And hey, thanks for always being there, Doc. That's right, folks. This is my show. This is a Boink Studios production. For those of you out there who are following me and my friend Kyle Smith, you can find him on Twitter at KyleDJSmith. We have a second show up and running. We've only got 2 episodes in the can. We're working on fixing that very soon, actually. Tom and Kyle's Comedy Action Hour, where it's basically just the two of us sitting around talking about comic books, pro wrestling, TV, movies, and a whole lot more. That's right, folks. 2 episodes in the can. Very eclectic mix of subjects. Pop culture references and stories of the day and movies, TV, and mostly comic books. So, always been a fanboy. So, for those of you who are as well, you should enjoy said podcast. But, you know, we always have to come back to the initial show, the one that kicked it off for us here at Boink Studios. And that, of course, is the one you're listening to right now, the Main Event. My name's Tom. This is my show. This is episode number 41, as we said before. And before we go any farther, let me tell you right now, from me to you, Merry Christmas. I don't do that Happy Holidays stuff. I'm not one of those, you know, all right, how can I say this PC? I'm down south, but I'm not your typical down south, you know, they're taking my guns kind of thing. That's not me. But I also don't subscribe to that, you know, Happy Holidays stuff. So, with no offense intended to anyone, Merry Christmas to you. Okay? There you go. So, I hope you're looking forward to the holiday, by the way. Lots of stuff to do. Busy all the time. Yes, I am as well. That's just life. That's how it is. But, you know, as we said before, this is episode number 41. We're not going to waste any more time getting into this thing. This time, the main event is the Roman Empire realized. That's right, folks. Unless you've been living under a rock for the past several days, you are well aware that there is a new WWE World Heavyweight Champion, and his name is Roman Reigns. That's right, folks. Hate to say I told you so, but told you so. Hate to be that guy. Can I be honest with you? I don't really hate to be that guy. I don't have a problem being that guy at all, if I can be straight with you. It's not something that I was, how can I say this? It's not something that I was, you know, advocating for. I wasn't necessarily in Roman's corner from day one. I'm not necessarily a Roman Reigns fan as we sit here today, but I know when I see the writing on the wall, and I saw the writing on the wall a long time ago. A lot of people saw it at the Royal Rumble, 2015 Royal Rumble. I saw it before then, and I may have been, and I don't quote me on this, because if I wasn't, I don't really care. It's whatever, but I may have been one of the first guys writing about the fact that I thought Roman was going to go, you know, go big, because he was definitely not going to go home. That he had potential, that he was exactly what WWE was looking for, that he is the complete package in every sense of the word, that I thought that as long as he kept working hard to get over, and that if he kept working in the ring and on the mic and eventually got to the point where Vince could look at him as a viable option, then he would be elevated to the point of holy cow. Well, guess what? Holy cow, because here it is. Here it is, folks. As we said before, Roman Reigns, new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. He hoisted that gold belt above his head on Monday Night Raw, and the whole world went crazy. And this time it was not in a bad way, actually. The December 14th edition of Monday Night Raw is the night when the title change took place. And because the title change taking place, the environment in which it happened, the way in which everything went down, actually was fostered and happened. And how can we say this? It was made available, I guess you could say, by TLC the previous night. TLC set up everything perfectly for Monday Night Raw. It was a perfect segue to Raw. Triple H's utter defeat at the hands of Roman Reigns, which Roman Reigns took him out with a steel chair, left him for dead, and of course, by 3 o'clock the next day, Triple H is tweeting. I wrote a whole column on that one, to be honest with you. It's something that I've been grieving over for a long time, the death of kayfabe. It never ends. It's never going to end. Kayfabe might be dead, but the fact that we're still talking about the fact that it is dead and that it's a shame and it's ridiculous and it's nonsense, that will never end. It's much in the same way they talk about the divas being misused and underused and underutilized and being made to look like a sideshow attraction. That's never going to end either. So the talk about the divas, the talk about kayfabe being dead and buried, by the way, and Vince seems to keep shoveling the dirt on top of the casket for whatever reason. But there again, Triple H tweeting live 3 o'clock, around 3:30, 4 o'clock the next day, after the fact. It is what it is. But either way, TLC set up Raw perfectly for the change to take place. Sheamus, all due respect to Sheamus, did the job, and people bag on Sheamus all day long, and that's fine. But Sheamus has been in the game longer than Roman has, and has been to the mountaintop, whether you want to think of him that way or not. It doesn't really matter what you think. He has been, okay? So for him to be willing to step aside the way he did and do business with Roman, because you can make the argument that Sheamus is better in the ring than Roman is. Sheamus certainly knows how to draw heat, whereas Roman has struggled in the past to get over as a face. It is what it is. But this particular episode, in case you're wondering, the answer is yes. It is directly tied to a column that I wrote, and you knew that was coming, right? Hey, man, I gotta, have show notes. You know what I'm saying? When I first started the main event, I would have show notes for every episode, and then it suddenly occurred to me in conversation with someone, like, hey, what about using the columns? And I'm like, okay, wow, doofus, what was I thinking? But this particular episode was actually, this particular column, please excuse me, WWE the Roman Empire Realized was actually posted on December 16th. So folks, getting right into this right now, before we go any further, the rise of the Roman Empire. How many times over the past 11 months have we read those exact words in one bit of speculation after another? Every dirt sheet, every blog, every podcast that covers WWE engaged in that very conversation. And as the months went by, it seemed as though maybe the company would not be able to pull it off after all. The work involved to make it happen was just too much. The effort to get him over seemed too monumental, and the amount of convincing for fans to actually buy in was overwhelming. But never say never. And again, I was one of those guys who very early on in the game was saying that Roman was going to be the next guy. I actually said that Roman was going to be the next top guy. Now, I don't know if you subscribe to that or not, because I think that as long as John Cena still has a breath in his body and can go in the ring, he's going to be the top guy. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. But you talk about someone that's been discussed and debated and speculated upon from day one. Everyone's done it. I did it. If you are a fan of the show and you've been listening since day one, you can go all the way back to episode 12 for the bout of Roman Reigns, in which I discussed at great length what I thought was going to happen with him. Episode 18 focused on Dean and Roman's excellent adventure in terms of those guys working together and being friends on screen and off screen. So the show, we have constantly talked about him. It's just something that if you're a WWE fan, if you're going to discuss that company at great length on any level, you can't leave out Roman Reigns. Love him or hate him, man, he's got a lot of critics. But I would submit to you that after his title win on December 14th, that many of those critics are now silenced. I notice I didn't say all of them. I said many of them. And there's a good reason for that, because Roman pulled it out. WWE pulled it out first. Let's just be honest about it. Vince McMahon's getting a lot of the credit for it, and he should. But the fact is, Vince got his way, whether you like it or not. By the way, a lot of you don't. It is what it is. But Vince managed to take a guy that no one wanted to see as champion, and by the end of Raw, you couldn't wait to see him as champion. And again, TLC set the whole thing up. Isn't this an amazing turn of events? I don't know what I would liken it to. I don't know what I would compare it to in terms of overall impact on fans and on that company. Maybe the double turn between Steve Austin and Bret Hart, perhaps. I don't know what would be as big where you kind of didn't see it coming, but you could feel that something major was in the air. But again, I was one of the guys that called this a long time. And here's the reason. I didn't have anything emotionally invested in this guy, and I still don't. But the fact of the matter is this. That company must continue to move forward, and you can either be on board or you can fight the future, okay? But WWE is not in existence today because it continued to rely on veteran stars to carry them to the future. In fact, it was the complete opposite. WWE managed to look ahead and decide, listen, we have to plan for tomorrow. We got to stop thinking about today. We got to plan for tomorrow. Do you see what I mean? And it's what led them past WCW. It's what led them past all the territories. It's what led them past everyone that's ever come down the pike. And WWE knows what it's doing in that regard. Vince McMahon at his best, WWE Creative at its best, which seems like sort of a crazy thing to say sometimes when you watch the show. But when that company is firing on all cylinders, no one is better at what they do. Okay, straight up. And when it comes down to it, you have to plan for tomorrow. You can't keep focusing on today. Speaking of WCW, that's what killed WCW, man. They kept leaning on that veteran leadership. They kept leaning on guys who were past their prime. They kept leaning on guys who just could not get it done anymore. And you cannot do that if you're going to exist in this business. You have to keep moving forward. And that is the part that a lot of people don't want to talk about because they don't want to see their favorites go away, but they also don't want to see the new guys who are not battle tested come up. Listen, it's not Roman Reigns' deal that the territory system is dead and gone. It's not, and I'll throw another name out there too. It's not Baron Corbin's deal that the territory system is done and gone. Someone in NXT, whether it be Triple H, someone in WWE Creative, Vince McMahon, Stephanie McMahon, someone sees something in these guys. You don't have to. And that's a sad fact, and it's okay, and it drives you crazy, it makes you want to pull your hair out, and I totally get that, because the thought process is, listen, if he's not connecting, then why is he being shoved down my throat? It's been happening for years. It happened in the territory system. It's just that when you saw that guy, he was on the main roster. You didn't see him in other territories unless you were a fan of those other territories because, how many times could you see Florida Championship Wrestling on TV if you were a WWE fan and you lived in New York? And it's just one of those things where you didn't get to see those guys until they showed up on Jim Crockett Promotions, or they showed up in the AWA or World Class or WWF at that time, and that was your first exposure to those talents. So the question that you have to ask yourself is, at what length are you going to go to hate on these guys? Because And I'm a firm believer in voice your opinion. I'm not one of those guys that says, oh, you just need to go along with the program, keep your mouth shut. If you want to chant something at a show, go chant it. If you want to write a column and bash someone, if that's your gig, go ahead and do it. If you want to boost someone, they're supposed to be babyface, go with God. But my point behind the whole thing is, what is your motivation here? Do you want the product to get better? You just don't care about the guy involved? What is it that's doing it for you? What is it that's causing you to do what you're doing right now and hate on WWE and hate on Roman and hate on all these other people? Because I'm going to tell you this. There is a vast disconnect between fans and WWE's corporate structure, and there has been for a long time. And don't let Roman Reigns' championship win on Monday Night Raw on December 14th fool you, because that disconnect is still very much alive and well. It will exist until the day that WWE, someone in WWE Creative, actually takes a minute and says, I don't think Baron's over after all. Or, I think Roman needs some more work. Now, until that moment comes, the disconnect between fans and corporate will always be there. It's like any big company with its employees. And I would consider the relationship to be kind of similar where, as wrestling fans, we need to be involved. We need to feel part of the process. It's gone far past wanting. It's gone to the point of needing to be part of the process, needing to be part of the culture of it all, needing to be part of the show, as it were, and it's gone far beyond wanting. So that means we can't turn it off. All right, to all you little, smarty pants out there that says, if you don't like the product, just turn the channel. Just turn the channel, it's okay. Guess what, doofus? It doesn't work that way. If you're a rabid Pittsburgh Steelers fan, you can stop watching the team because they lose a game? Of course not. You're always going to be a fan. Don't get me started on that nonsense, man. For anybody out there spewing forth that nonsense, save it. Save the drama, man. Take it to somebody else's door because I'm not having it. If that's all you've got to fill your comm with, you're wasting my time. Honest to God, shut up about it. We know there's a choice. We chose to watch it. We're going to choose to watch it next week. Even though it might be a train wreck tonight, we're going to choose to watch it next week. Do you know what I mean? That's who we are. We're wrestling fans, man. That's not going to change anytime soon. Get it? So get over yourselves. I can't stand that stuff, man. It drives me insane. But again, we are always going to watch. And we want the product to get better. I mean, we really do. We want it to improve. We want it to get to the point where we can watch Raw and be happy all the time. That sounds impossible, huh? It really is. When's the last time you watched Raw and you were happy all the time? I mean, maybe the Attitude Era, I guess, is the first thing you're going to say to me. But need I remind you, to everyone out there listening right now, that Attitude Era was not this big, glorious spectacle that a lot of people make it out to be, if we can be straight about it. There was a lot of ridiculous gimmicks and a lot of, nasty jokes and a lot of silly things happening during the Attitude Era. I mean, honestly. And what it all comes down to for me is that you have to pick and choose the good parts of the Attitude Era, just like you have to pick and choose the best parts of any era gone by in WWE or any other pro wrestling company. So that's sort of what it all comes down to for me. But again, the disconnect exists. However, Roman Reigns has overcome that disconnect. At least for 1 week, Roman Reigns is a bright, shining star in WWE. And guess what? He's the top guy right now. I said it. I was one of the first guys to say it. I'm saying it right now, all up in your ear. He is the top guy right now until John Cena gets himself back in that ring. Roman Reigns is the top guy. And you don't have to like it. You don't have to love it. You don't even have to learn to love it. That's just the fact of the matter, okay? And he's going to ride this wave of momentum. Wrote that column too, by the way, for Bleacher Report, on how Roman Reigns can maintain his momentum after winning WWE World's Heavyweight Championship on Raw. You are free to go to my Bleacher Report page and look that sucker up too. I told you guys before, if you know me at all, I am an attention whore of the highest order. I post, I tweet, I retweet, I repost, I write, I record, I do all these other things. But again, so that's why I'm doing this right now. There you go. The December 17th column that I wrote, how Roman Reigns can keep his momentum after the WWE World title win. There you go. Go read that sucker. I think it's fun. I mean, don't you? Say yes, please. But back to the subject at hand here. Vince McMahon can do anything. Can we all agree on that one? It's nearly impossible to be a WWE fan for longer than 15 minutes and not understand that despite how much criticism Vince receives and how much fans want to believe otherwise, he can do anything. He is still turning water into wine, and that's exactly what he did with Roman Reigns. And here's the kicker. It's not that Reigns didn't want it, and it's not that Roman didn't have potential to get there. It's that virtually no one on the planet wanted him there. But guess what? He made it anyway. This is perhaps the single most blatant example of McMahon's ego ruling the day that we have seen in a very, very long time. Instead of taking Reigns back a step or two due to his shortcomings or perhaps changing his character so he could get a fresh start, McMahon kept pushing. Roman has often been compared to John Cena. There's your boy, John Cena. But this is likely the best example of why. Much like Cena, Roman did not change to suit anyone. He could have given in to please fans that believed he should have turned heel, but he didn't. He didn't join the Authority. He didn't take Paul Heyman as his advocate. He didn't betray Dean Ambrose. To all you wishy-washy fans out there who love them together but can't wait to see them split up for whatever reason. And he did nothing that was out of character for him. Whether you love Roman's character or not, I don't know if there was ever a moment where he completely betrayed his own character. They didn't allow him to do it, and he didn't do it. And again, you don't have to like his character. I'm just saying, in a day and age where we see guys do things that is out of character for them, and you're kind of left scratching your head going, what was that? You know, he didn't do that. He's never done that. Roman has stayed true to who he is. He stayed true to who he is as a talent, as a character, and every way in between. He is who he is. And you can either be on board or you're not. I mean, it's completely up to you. But after his title win on Raw, I would say a lot more people on board than they were before. Can we be straight about it? Because it worked. It worked on every level, man. It worked on every level I can't say from day one, but it's worked on every level for a lot of people since day one. Because guess what? Despite all the criticism and hate that Roman receives on a nearly daily basis, and let's be honest, a nearly hourly basis anymore, and probably has been for a long time. The fact is that a lot of people have always been in Roman's corner, and there's no denying that. He's got his critics, of course, they number by the thousands, but he's got his fans as well, and they're probably just as many, if not more, at times. And you know, all it takes sometimes is one guy to say, "I don't like this." And next thing you know, every writer that comes after him has wrote the same drivel, and it's sometimes it's like we can't think for ourselves. No disrespect to any of my peers on this side of the business, and I've always maintained that pro wrestling journalists take up our own little corner of the business. So from my perspective, from where I'm sitting right now, we would be best served to sort of, do our own thing and write our own material and come up with our own opinions instead of just mimicking everyone else. And I know it seems that way a lot because honestly, it is that way a lot. Guys can't think for themselves and girls can't think for themselves. It's a shame it's like that, but that's the reality of the situation. But again, Roman's got his fans he has from day one. The comparison to John's always been there. The first time I heard the comparison to John, I'm like, what? Like I got where they were coming from, I suppose, but at the same time, I thought, man, it's awful early to be talking about this stuff. You know what I'm saying? But I guess I see it. I mean, I've written that myself several times over the past year or so. So I understand it. But, and I shouldn't say but, there is more of a possibility for you to become a Roman Reigns fan than a John Cena fan if you're a typical pro wrestling fan. Well, let's backpedal for a bit. If a typical pro wrestling fan, we would consider a casual pro wrestling fan, which means you watch occasionally, you try to watch every week. If you miss a few, it's no big deal. You don't really go to shows that much, maybe one Raw every now and then or SmackDown, whatever it is. And you might have a buddy that has the network, and when you go hang out with him, you'll watch the network with him. That, to me, is the definition of a casual fan. You might be more up for Cena than you are for Roman because Cena is more showtime. He's more flash. He's more big smiles, big muscles. That he looks like a pro wrestler. Okay, Roman Reigns looks like a pro wrestler too, but to me, Roman Reigns looks like he should be in Metallica. That's just how I see it. You know what I mean? He looks like, honestly, Roman Reigns looks like an expendable. He looks like Stallone recruited him and he's in the next film. Which, by the way, what a great fit that would be, wouldn't it? Am I crazy? But so I think if you're a diehard fan, if you're a fan that's been there from the beginning, and longer than 15 minutes actually, then you might be attracted more to Roman as a top guy than John, because Roman, love him or hate him, man, Roman puts his head down and keeps fighting. And you just, he doesn't showboat in a match. He doesn't pop up and smile at you. He sells. By the way, he sells. Have I mentioned he sells? Now, no one's selling like Jeff Hardy in that company, in my opinion. I like Dolph, but I'm just being straight here. So maybe it's not the old school territory way of selling a match that maybe should be happening all the time, 24/7. But in terms of where that company is, in terms of where the talents are, Roman sells a ton better than Cena does. We can be honest about it. And I know that Cena's Superman, I get that. But, again, Roman, in that regard, is head and shoulders above where Cena's at, in my very humble opinion. But, again, the comparison's been made between the two guys. And one of the ways that it works is that they both stayed the course. The difference between John and Roman is that John continues to stay the course while people are still bashing him. Roman stayed the course, and this past Monday on Raw, you're like, oh my God, I think he just got over. So in other words, Roman stayed the course until the fans caught up to him. Now, what are you going to do? We'll get into that later. But suddenly, Roman was not the most hated man in the building. He was the most popular, the Philadelphia crowd. That's right, I said the Philadelphia crowd. Isn't that something? Holy God, dude. And he got over in Philly. What's the saying about New York? If you can make it on Broadway, you can make it anywhere. Oh my God, as a pro wrestler, if you can get a pop in Philly, dude, you've done something, am I right? The Philadelphia crowd wanted to see him win. In fact, they were salivating by the end of the match with Sheamus. Sheamus, again, deserves a ton of credit. He was the heel that did the job. He made... and like it or not, he made Roman look good. He really did. And, he could have said no. He could have said, Roman's not ready, fella, whatever it is. I mean, I don't know that Sheamus has that kind of pull, but he could have made a statement on some level. Maybe he did. How are we to know or speculate on that? Maybe it did happen. But either way, he did the job, so kudos to him. But Vince is the one that made this all happen for real, 100%. He evidently didn't want Roman to change, so guess what? Roman didn't change. The same logic that dictates Cena's stale personality remained the same applies to Roman as well. And when the moment came to make the call, Vince McMahon made the call. But Roman has something Cena doesn't. I want all you kids to pull in close to the mic. Pull in close to your phone. I'll pull in close to the mic. How's that? Check this out. All right, listen up. This is a good one. Roman has something Cena doesn't have. Do you know what it is? Don't say long hair and tattoos. Don't say the tactical gear. Don't say the Samoan heritage. Would you stop? Roman has something that Cena doesn't have. An edge. Get it? He has an edge. Because when John Cena smiles, you want to throw up. When Roman smiles now, if his character is handled correctly, you know that smile is a half step away from very, very bad things happening to his opponent. Underneath Roman's smile, the good looks and the corny jokes, is a bad man just waiting to be unleashed. This is the same guy that busted heads with the Shield, and it's the same guy that stood tall with that group against Evolution in 2014. That Roman Reigns was a force to be reckoned with, an intriguing proposition for top guy, and one that fans were perfectly okay seeing rise up. He had the world in front of him. The best part about it, he wasn't John Cena. People wanted the next guy. They didn't want another John Cena. When they looked at Roman, they didn't see another John Cena. Fans saw the difference from the start, and that's why he had potential to be something big. Where John was static, Roman was new and fresh. There was every reason to believe he could take the momentum he had from the Shield and translate it into a singles run that would eventually put him on top. But what happened? I've written about this very topic for almost a year now as well. And a lot of you have speculated on and talked about it and probably read it and heard it in podcasts as we've discussed here on the show before. What happened? Two things. Ambrose got over and Daniel Bryan returned. Combined with the fact that Roman Reigns began showing signs of regressing into a pseudo-Cena state, and suddenly everything about the situation began to look bad. Roman was no longer the option fans wanted for the future. He was now part of the problem. Remember that? Remember when that happened? I remember clearly when that happened. And I remember sitting back thinking, oh, God, is this really going on right now? I can't believe this is happening. Bryan couldn't help him. Remember, Bryan worked him at the Rumble? And this was, 2015 Royal Rumble, yes? Don't let me get my dates mixed up. Dude, Bryan has been out. He's been off and on so much, it's crazy. And by the way, as a side note, I hope Bryan's not done. I say that on this program a lot. It's the truth. But I truly hope he's not done. I love that guy. I don't know of a fan that doesn't love that guy. He's one of the few talents in that locker room that can get 100% crowd reaction. Honestly, he's one of them. But anyway, Bryan couldn't help Roman. Brock Lesnar was enough to get Roman over. And Bray Wyatt was just another opponent for him. Now, having said that, all three rivalries were good for Roman. All three helped him along the way. We can agree on that, yes. I mean, Brock got him in the ring and beat the living dog out of him, okay, as we knew he would. Roman kept smiling in the match at Mania, remember? He just had that smile, and I think that was not just directed at Brock, it was directed at the crowd that was booing him. Because Roman's way is saying, I'm not going away. You can boo me all you want to. I'm having the time of my life. I'm in the main event of WrestleMania working Brock Lesnar. Who's not going to have fun doing that? Right? But all three rivalries were good for Roman. All three helped him grow as a performer. But none of them did what the guys in charge could do. Those guys, Triple H and Vince McMahon. In 2 nights, they did for Roman Reigns what WWE's creative team couldn't do with nearly a year's worth of booking. Now, granted, Roman was prepped for his title win with 11 months worth of booking. But that came after Triple H doing the work at TLC. Again, Triple H set the whole thing up for Roman at TLC. WWE wanted Roman at the top. He's at the top. Vince McMahon got his way. Aren't you upset? Don't you want to slap him? 70-year-old Vince McMahon. The guy that everyone says is out of touch. By the way, he is. Everyone that says he's not connected to fans the way he should be on a meaningful level. By the way, he's not. Everyone that says that Vince should get out of the way already and hand the reins over to someone else. By the way, maybe he should. Don't fool yourself, man. One night of good booking and one good Monday Night Raw does not equal a changing of the guard for that company. It does not equal a complete 180 for Roman Reigns as a character, as a talent, or as an in-ring performer. It does none of those things at all. Okay? Do not kid yourself. The fact of the matter is that Roman still has a long road to hoe as WWE World Heavyweight Champion. You want to know what the test is? You want to know what the real test for Roman Reigns is going to be? It's not the night that he won the belt. It's not every match leading up to the night he won the belt. It wasn't TLC leading up to winning the belt. The true test for Roman Reigns is going to be the next edition of Monday Night Raw. That will be the true test, the next edition of Monday Night Raw. What is he going to say? How's he going to look? How's he going to handle himself? Because I'm going to tell you right now, if he comes out there with that title, talking about his family for 10 minutes, people are going to tune out. I have family. I love my kid to death. But in Roman's world, in the world that he inhabits, look at this guy. Look at him. Does he look like a big teddy bear with a little girl at home? No. He looks like a stone cold killer. He looks like an expendable. He looks like a military guy, right? He looks like a mercenary for hire. That's what Roman Reigns looks like. And every time a talent gets away from who he is, whether it's for a spot, an interview, to do a movie, whatever it is, you are taking a chance of that guy losing momentum, of losing face with the fans, and losing a step in the company. I'm a firm believer in that, folks. I really, truly am. And I think that Roman's character is at his best when he is busting heads. Leave the smiles at home. Leave the talk of the family in the home with the family. Forget all of that stuff. And God bless his family. Not suggesting otherwise. All I'm saying to you is that Roman needs to stay on target. Okay? Keep the guy's focus maintained. Because the moment that you stop, the moment that that you stop pushing, you stop pressing for Roman to be that killer, is the moment that Roman will die a slow and agonizing death. We thought he was dying a slow, agonizing death already. Monday Night Raw turned it all around for him, right? TLC before it did as well. But you have to keep Roman Reigns in that character because, man, I'm telling you right now, if he shows up on Raw smiling and waving and giving high fives to his boys and the Usos and Ambrose and everything, in my estimation, you're going to hurt him. And I don't think that's the right thing to do. I talked about the column I wrote for Bleacher. I'm going to touch on that just a bit here. And again, you can find it at bleacherreport.com. Just look my name up. I'm the only Tom Clark there. I'm really the only Tom Clark you should be concerned with. Because, as far as pro wrestling goes anyway. And comic books and pop culture. That's me. So, anyway. This column, again, published on the 17th. We're going to touch on that here a little bit. How Roman Reigns can keep his momentum after WWE World Title win. That's right, folks. Tom's playing armchair booker, don't we all? Isn't it fun? Yes, it is. Say it with me. It's fun. Okay, he has a long road ahead of him. As we said, certain steps must be taken for him to maintain his momentum from this point on. Guess what? It's not as hard as you might think. This may have been perhaps the most forced title change in the history of that company, but it worked. Didn't it really feel like that it was Vince McMahon's way of saying, by God, I'm going to put the belt on this dude if it kills him. I don't even care. I don't even care if you don't like it. You know what I mean? Like we said before, Vince got his way, man. It's all right. It's his company. What's everyone worried about? It's not your pocketbook on the line. It's not your wallet hanging in the balance if it doesn't work. It's his. You don't have to spend money supporting that company. Entirely up to you. You can watch it all day long. It doesn't mean you have to go to the live events. Entirely up to you. But again, for us fans that have been around for 20 plus years, then we're probably not going to go anywhere anytime soon, man. There's other wrestling companies out there, of course, but this is the big daddy, the Mac daddy, the top dog, the big cheese, the head honcho. How many more you got? I got a bunch of them, man. What do you want from me here? But that's what we have, and how many of us are really going to tune out, turn the channel, never watch again? Probably no one, really. But this was probably the most forced title change in recent memory, but the fact is it worked. All right, listen. Put it in this context. Reigns took on Sheamus in a punishing TLC match on Sunday, was attacked by Alberto Del Rio and Rusev, then took Triple H down out of frustration. One moment, fans were watching with mixed emotions in regard to Reigns. The next moment, they're on their feet chanting his name. All of that happened in one night. Isn't that something? I mean, when TLC went off the air, it was apparent to many that WWE had stumbled onto something. Finally, the company had realized that giving fans what they wanted would yield remarkable results. I want everyone to go back and listen to what I just said. And I want you to know that I'm going to reiterate this point until the cows come home. Keep your eyes open for the herd. It's on its way back any moment now. Give the fans what they want and great things can happen. It's really not that hard, man. Okay? Fans wanted Stone Cold. They gave us Stone Cold. Guess what happened? Biggest star that company's ever seen. Fans wanted CM Punk. We got CM Punk. Guess what happened? The summer of Punk exploded. Okay? Fans wanted Foley. We got Foley. Guess what happened? WWE champion. Fun ride. Fun character. Hard worker. I mean, give fans what they want and you will not be disappointed. Stop having this notion that you are the end-all, be-all when it comes to pro wrestling knowledge. Now, Vince McMahon is. Hard to say out of both sides of your mouth that Vince got his way and haha, he fooled you and he got what he wanted. And then also say that he should stop believing himself to be the fantastic judge of character that everybody has said he is over the years. Because at the end of the day, fans should get what they want. It's a very delicate balance. It's hard for me to give credit and not criticize at the same time. It's nothing personal. But again, a lot of what's happening that happened on Raw and on TLC, a lot of that can be undone the next time you see Roman Reigns and you see him live on Monday Night Raw. I'm not talking about SmackDown. I'm talking about live on Monday Night Raw. Because it could all be undone. And guess whose decision that is? That'd be creative. Vince McMahon, Triple H. I mean, people have got to stay in the game when it comes to Roman Reigns. You have to keep your heads in the game, keep your heads together on the same page, and continue to get Roman where he needs to be in terms of his character, because the second that you don't, Roman is going to suffer, wither, and die, and you can't have that. Not if you want him to keep the title, not if you want him to truly be a top guy. Look at all the progress he's made to this point. If you have him take a step back, it's going to be death for his character. Does anyone want that? His critics would love it, but it's not going to be good for that company. Again, folks, you can cheer for whoever you want to. You can hate on WWE for all you want to. But if you are a fan of that company, then you shouldn't want to see it fold. There's a lot of good men and women in that company making a living and feeding their families from this company. I've went on these rants before, but anyone that wishes ill will in a pro wrestling company, in my estimation, is not a true pro wrestling fan, because you're wishing people to lose their jobs, straight up. And to me, that's just ridiculous. It's short-sighted. It's very self-serving. It's not thinking big picture, long term. It's thinking about, I just read this blog and I think that dude's right. Roman Reigns sucks. Well, guess what? You've not helped anyone but yourself. And it's, again, to wish ill will in that company or any other company, even TNA. And a lot of people hate TNA. I'm not a fan of TNA, if I'm being honest with you. I'm a fan of the talent. The company itself, in my opinion, is a miserable wreck. But I don't want that company to fail. I don't want them to die a miserable death. I don't want that. Because the more places the guys have to work, the better. Okay? It gives me something to write about. It gives these guys a way to make a living. And it does everything that needs to be done to keep these guys afloat, keep food on their family's table, and keep them in the business. And that, to me, is the most important part. But again, if WWE were to drop the ball, and the next time you see Roman in all his glory on Raw, it doesn't feel right, they're going to turn on him, man. I mean, you seriously have to be thinking about that. It's kind of a big deal. You know what I'm saying? But that soft side, the family guy that loves his daughter, and he's just a big teddy bear. That's not what fans wanted. They made it very clear from day one. We don't like the corny jokes. We don't like the goofy humor. We don't like to talk about the family. All due respect, we don't want that from this guy at all. That's not the top guy image that we want. We've got that, and that's where the comparisons came from with Cena. Like, we don't want that. We've got that with Cena right now, that goofy, cornball, hee-haw kind of approach to it where it's like, oh, shucks, Pa. They've already got that with John. They don't want that again with Roman. No one wants it again with Roman or with anybody else, honestly, because all due respect to John, it's run its course. I mean, I understand John has his fans. John's a top guy. All due respect to Cena, he busts his hump in the ring. You can't deny that. He had a great 2015 in my estimation. But at the same time, you have to be straight about it. No one wants John Cena Part 2. No one wanted Hulk Hogan Part 2 either. They tried to give it to you with Ultimate Warrior. It didn't work. And in some regards with Randy Savage, it didn't work either. You have to change course and go in a new direction. You have to go with the mentality of the world around you. And I don't know if the world around us has ever been, well, not since the 80s, that all-American, red, white, and blue, true blue, 100% good all the time. The 80s territories days, yes. That's what you call a white bread baby face, white meat baby face, and that's what it is. But I mean, I think those days are long gone, man. I mean, you're in a day and age now where people are more cynical, they're shallow, they're callous. They want, action movies from their pro wrestling matches. They don't necessarily want, hey, look at me, I love you, and you're my biggest fans, and I'm all about it, and look, I'm always going to do the right thing. I mean, that's how many guys do that right now, honestly, and it works and gets them over without a lot of criticism from the crowd. I mean, I don't think it's even possible. But here it is, folks. Roman Reigns has got to stay the course, as we said before. But let's just get down to the bare bones of it. How do you maintain? Because people want the killer. They want the big bruising Roman Reigns. That, again, was cracking heads with the Shield. That dude was all business all the time. He had no time for corny jokes and cheesy smiles, okay? But we've had 11 months of corny jokes and cheesy smiles and lukewarm reactions and will he or won't he and how come WWE will or won't do this, that, or the other thing. No one wants any of that anymore. I'm tired of writing that column. I want to write the column that, hey, Roman's finally made it. Let's go talk about the next thing. Let's see how he maintains it. Let's talk about who his first opponent is for the championship belt. Let's talk about where he goes from here. That's what I want. I'm sick of writing and listening and reading that other stuff, man. Move on. Okay, because if he is to maintain any semblance of momentum, he must once again stay the course. But this time, the course that was laid out on Monday Night Raw. That is the person that Reigns must be. That's what he's best at. And more importantly, that is what works. He can have a softer side. He can talk about his family. And he can be the guy who smiles when he's around friends like Ambrose and the Usos. But it has to come in small doses. Did you hear me? Small doses, and only when he's not in a high pressure environment. Fans have got to know, dude, that when that bell rings, that Roman will do whatever it takes to win. I'm not talking about healing out. Everyone calm down. It means that he's always going to fight hard. He will not be easily duped. So when an opponent such as Sheamus attempts to outsmart him or call in the reinforcements like with League of Nations, those tactics are not going to work because Roman will not fall for them. The two sides of Reigns must be sold as what his character is. Sort of that Jekyll and Hyde mentality, yes? If he's pushed too hard, he will snap. And once that happens, there is no stopping him. And I love TLC for a number of reasons, but the primary reason is that when he got that look in his eye, and the referees came down the ringside, and he was starting to take Triple H down, referees got up in his face, remember? And he just turned, looked at them, and they all immediately backed off. And I would love to see an interview with a pro wrestling referee. And WWE, like a really, really quick spot. It's like, why didn't you stop? Like Stephanie just like gets in one of their faces. Why didn't you stop him? That's what you're here to do. You're supposed to stop him from hurting Triple H. And one of them just fire back at her, respectfully, of course, because she'll start screeching otherwise. But respectfully fire back and say, I've been doing this for a long time. I know when a guy's got a look in his eye, and Roman had that look, and I was not going to get hurt. I got a family to support. You know what I mean? And it needs to be that dangerous and that deadly for anyone that gets in Roman's way when he's in that character. I mean, it needs to be, dude, I'm not getting in his way. I'm getting away from you. Out of your mind? I don't want anything to do with this cat. He's going to kill somebody. That's the look he had when he gave that little subtle nod and then gave Triple H the Superman punch, started whipping him with the chair after that. That's what we saw. And that's what needs to continue. Okay? And you need to know that. Fans need to know that. Because once that's been established, once that is the status quo for his character, once that is the way things are and the way things need to be with Roman Reigns, then you're going to see something very remarkable happen. You're going to see a complete change of mind and change of heart when it comes to the fans about Roman Reigns. Now, I'm not saying he won't continue to have his critics. He will, obviously. But I'm talking about a good number of fans, and dare I say the majority of fans, especially live in attendance, are going to have that change of opinion about Roman. You want to know why? Here's why. It's hard to hate a guy that has that intimidation about him. Sheamus doesn't have it. I like Sheamus. I'm one of Sheamus' supporters. Probably always will be. He doesn't have it. Sheamus is a goofball who acts like a tough guy. Now, I don't think that should be the case. I think Sheamus should be a tough guy that acts like a tough guy. Just my opinion. But he's a goofball that acts like a tough guy. Roman Reigns needs to be a kind-hearted guy that acts like a tough guy and is a tough guy because of the nature of the business, because of what he does for a living. You know what I'm saying? He has that he can tap into on any given night in every match that he's in. And brother, when that look comes on his face, get out of his way. Do you understand? Get out of his way. Because if you do not get out of his way, you will be collateral damage. That's what the Shield was best at. That's what Roman Reigns needs to be again. That's what needs to happen for all of this to work. He's got to be on the offensive, always. He's got to be ready for war and attempting to stay one stay ahead. Ruthless aggression must be the order of the day. Remember that term? It must be the order of the day for Roman. His attack on Triple H TLC should pale in comparison to what he would do when the Authority attempts to hurt him or his family from this point on, including Ambrose and the Usos. Getting him to this point and doing it with the approval of fans took nearly a year and a lot of maneuvering. A year! Don't erase it now. Don't lose it now. Keeping him to this point will take less work if it's done right. It's not going to be that hard. The KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid. Just let Roman be the guy fans saw at TLC and on Raw the night after, because if WWE can do that, then Reigns will keep every ounce of momentum he has and should gain even more. He won't lose a trace of momentum. Isn't that a novel concept? You get a guy over and he stays over, bro. I called you bro. I don't even care. I mean, isn't that what we're talking about? At this point in his career, Roman Reigns is a far cry from Baron Corbin. All due respect to Baron Corbin, man. I don't know if it's possible for Baron Corbin in NXT, because if he's struggling this much in NXT, imagine bringing him up to the main roster. He's going to struggle even more, don't you think? He needs something. I'd put Baron on a motorcycle, straight up. Just a sidebar there. Put Baron on a Harley coming down to the ring. No one's done it in years. Why not let him do it? You know what I mean? Let Taker sign off on it. Go to Taker if you have to and ask for permission. Hey, is this okay with you if we do this? And maybe even set up a confrontation one night where Baron's out there running his mouth and Taker shows up for just a one shot. Kind of like The Rock did with Rusev that night on Raw, remember? I mean, I think that would be cool, don't you? I think so. Did that happen on Raw, by the way? I'm going to have to consult the Google machine to find out, maybe. I'm an old guy. What do you want from me, man? Sometimes I get fuzzy. I haven't had coffee yet. That's the problem. You know what? You know those people that say I haven't had coffee in the morning, they can't get started? That's me. But I could drink coffee all day long. I'm not one of those guys that it's only in the morning and he's done with it. Because I don't know how many of you guys do this. I drink coffee because I like the taste. I don't just drink it to wake up or to get moving or get motivated. Caffeine doesn't affect me like it affects a lot of other people. It really does. It never has. I could drink caffeine. I could drink coffee, a full cup of coffee, go to bed 20 minutes later. I'd be fine. How did we get off on the coffee subject? You started it, right? Maybe you didn't. Listen to me being all aggressive to my audience. By the way, you guys are a great audience. Have I told you that? I'm pretty happy with the downloads of the show. I'm happy with where everything's going. I want to build my viewership. I want to build my audience. My listeners needs to grow. So I want you to do me a favor. I want you to go tell all your friends and family about the show. And if you believe we're wrapping it up, you're right. We are. I want you to go tell everyone you know about the show. Friends, family, colleagues, peers, best buddies, enemies, everyone you know. Everyone you know. That Tom Clark's main event is on. Go tell them that we got 41 episodes in the can. We're looking forward to 41 more, brother. And we're going to make it happen too, trust me. But go tell everyone you know. Give me some free publicity, man. Advertise for me. If you like the show, let me know. Drop me a line. Drop me an email. TomClarkBR@yahoo.com. Give me a follow on Twitter at TomClarkBR. Check out my Facebook page where I post all my stuff. Okay? It's fun. Go click the like button. You'll enjoy it. It's good stuff. Speaking of clicking the like button, go enjoy and support my production company. Boink Studios, owned by Tom Clark and Kyle Smith, is on the Facebook. Boink Studios on Facebook. Go click like, you'll get a cookie. Trust me, it's in the mail. It's on the way. Support our show, Tom and Kyle's Comedy Action Hour. Easy for me to say. Tom and Kyle's Comedy Action Hour, which is available on iTunes, Google Play, and several other platforms in the coming weeks, hopefully. You got to get a lot of episodes in the can for it to show up other places, is what I'm told. It's been so long since I've started the main event, I can't remember how that works, but I'll look into it. Hey, I'll let you know. But go check out the show. I think you'll like it. Drop us a line if you want to, boinkstudios@yahoo.com. Okay, give us a follow on Twitter at Boink Studios. Give Kyle a follow at Kyle DJ Smith. Episode number 3 of Tom and Kyle's Comedy Action Hour is on the way, eventually. Stay tuned for that. Episode 42 of the main event will be on the way as well. Please stay tuned for that. Don't forget where you can find me online. You can find me on BleachReport.com. Also on the highly esteemed Camel Clutch blog. Please go check out my own blog, TomClarkBR.wix.com/blog. You can also find some of my work recently on Sportskeeda. I might be appearing in other places here shortly. Keep up to date on that. Stay tuned for that information. It's probably coming soon. Speaking of Boink Studios, we also have our own website that I work on constantly, TomClarkBR.wix.com/boink. Go check it out, man. If you're into comic books, TVs, movies, and more, brother, that's where you need to be, because that's where I got the stuff happening. It's good stuff, too. Listen, folks, thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. I do appreciate your business. Depending on when you listen to this, I will wish you all once again a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, all that other stuff. Hope you and yours have a safe one. I'm looking forward to mine, actually. So everyone have a safe one as well. Thanks again for listening. Thanks again for tuning in. And please come back real soon. We will see you next time on Tom Clark's Main Event.